Hey guys, welcome to Ministry Matters. I'm excited to have my friend Collins Reimer in the studio with us. A lot of you may recognize him as the man, the myth, the legend that has fed thousands of men, or also has like rescued thousands of men out of darkness. Um, Wesley, do you know Collins Reimer?
You know what? I know of him, but it's great to get to know you today more. I heard so much about you. I met you in person. I've hung out with you before, but I'm excited to hear who Collins is because what you've done, people might not recognize you because you're also not the kind of person that goes around bragging about what you do.
Definitely.
So people might not even know who you are.
He definitely doesn't tag me in a post, or he doesn't. I tag him sometimes. He doesn't share my posts. We'll talk about that later, but I definitely will sell. I'll tell you, as an audience, you should know this: that Collins has taken care of my soul many days where nobody else did, and I'm super grateful for that. So I'm excited because I actually don't know your whole story either. We'll start with the simple stuff. How did you end up in Bakersfield, California?
Well, when I was six, my mom and dad got divorced, and I was born in St. Helens, Oregon, and I was there till I was 6 years old, and we moved to Tehachapi. My grandmother had a rental in Tehachapi, and we were there just for a short time over the summer, and then we moved to Bakersfield after that. So I've been here since I was about 7 years old, really.
In Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Wow. And what high school did you go to?
I went to Highland High School.
You went to Highland?
Yeah, East Side.
The East Side. See? East Side guys. I bet you didn't know that about him. So when you were in high school, did you play any sports or anything like that?
Yeah, I played football, ran track. Tried playing basketball one year, but that didn't work out so good.
You're pretty tall though. You ran track?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do?
As a youth, I was a mid-distance runner and did long jump, high jump, triple jump. And then as I got in high school, I got lazy and did the quarter mile and then did all the long jump, triple jump, high jumps.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's awesome. What'd you do after high school?
After high school, I went to Bakersfield College. I played football for a little bit until I just kind of took a different path.
What position you like playing in football?
A strong safety.
Safety.
Yeah.
That's so funny. That's what you do for guys too. Safety.
Yeah.
That's good at BC. And then so what changed your path? Like what got you to say, I'm not going to do sports, I'm going to do something else?
I just got too involved in the party life. I mean, it started when I was probably in eighth grade, but it got really bad about sophomore in high school. And then it clouded my vision for quite a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what did you do after that?
I've had a couple different jobs. I worked for a chiropractor at a high school. I worked for my aunt and uncle as well. They had a construction company. And then I quit the chiropractor, went in basically full time into construction. Then that was like 1991. And then I went to work for a guy, and I was actually going to quit him. And he asked me to stay and he'd make me partner. And so that was in 94. And by 96, I had bought him out of the construction company. And I've been kind of running ever since.
That's how you got into construction, huh?
Yeah, I told myself as a kid doing it, I would never do it. I hated it. But when you make different choices, everything changes and you go back to what you know.
All right. So, you were telling me about the construction part. So when you say construction, are you talking about like homes, buildings?
Yeah, mostly, I started out doing like modular office buildings, did tons of stuff for school districts, military. We still do that today. Then later on, I got into more of the remodels and then new construction. And lately, we've been just more or less doing the remodels and the modular stuff. I'm not doing a lot of new construction. It's just takes up a lot of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got a question about because I have been to J&M's and I was like, the first time I went in there, I was there with Steve Elcano and he invited me to eat lunch. And I was like, how dare you invite me, a pastor, to a bar, bro? And I go, all right. So I go in there and he's like, yeah, we have Bible studies here. We have men's groups here. We have couples groups. I was like, at the bar? He's all, Adrian, the bar's over there, but anything can happen in here. Like,
It's
and I
a
go,
restaurant.
yeah, it's a restaurant, right? In my mind, though, that's
Get your
all.
mind out of it.
That's all I could think of. And I was like, and this was years ago, but I remember going like, how did that work out, God? Like I never asked him. And I didn't find out till years later that one of the guys from Influencers actually owned that place. And that's why God was using it in that way, you know? Because I've seen all kinds of groups come out of there. And
Right.
I've had some pretty awesome lunches there too lately, like with Wayne Bedford and his son. And it's just like God moves in a part in that place right there. But I think it's because you own it. That's
Maybe.
why. That's why.
God's everywhere. If he was going to be here, he would be near a bar.
Yeah, he would.
He's going to be near the sick and the broken.
He would definitely know where the bars were at too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good.
I got a question. So out of all that, you said, after college, after BC, you went in a little different way. Like, what was the breaking point? Or what was the moment that set you into this path of success?
You know, I've always been driven. I grew up as a young man, very poor. Before we moved, um, we didn't have electricity in the house, so everything was like kerosene lamps, wood burning stoves, outhouse. Is where you use the restroom, hand pump on the well. So you get your water outside, you bring it in to warm it up, pour it in the bath drains out on the grass type deal. And right before my parents got divorced, we got electricity. And so then we had a real stove, electric stove, which my mom was proud about and then upset about because she left her stove, But so just as a kid, I knew I never wanted to be like this. And so when we moved here, it was still the same thing. My mom doing the best she could as a single mom. Holes in our clothes, holes in our shoes, duct taping, whatever we could to hold things together. And so I always had this drive. I would take packs of gum to school. Back then a pack of gum was 10 cents. And I would sell each piece at school for 25 cents. And I would buy 10 packs of gum every morning right over here at Martin's Pharmacy, which is right down the street. It's not there anymore, and I would go there first thing, and then I would go to school, and then I'd get in trouble for it, and I'd still do it. But it was always having this way of trying to find some bit of a hustle. Having paper routes. Growing up, had 2 or 3 of them. It was always this desire not to be poor anymore because it didn't feel good as a kid. You get left out a lot of stuff. You get in a lot of fights over it. And, in sports, I had scholarships to go play football and I screwed those up. That's how I ended up at BC. And then I screwed that up. And then even as I got into business for myself, I still hadn't had it figured out yet. And it took some time, and I think when my oldest daughter was born, is when things started coming into perspective. Even being married, I had abandonment issues, still do a little bit even today, but I was waiting for her to leave all the time. And so I never could just get my feet wrapped into something that wasn't just me, because I could trust me and what I could do. But when Nicolette was born, she changed everything about her.
And how old is Nicolette now?
She's 26.
26.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, that is good. So you went from this poor that's one of the hardest things to break too, just so you know, like the poor mentality. and then going into the hustle mentality is a whole
Well,
other thing.
And the hustle mentality is not healthy. You know, it's
No.
not healthy for your relationship with your wife. It's not healthy for your relationship with your kids either, because it becomes an addiction, and it becomes what's first. You know, and everybody's on the back burner, and it took a lot of years to figure that out, that this ain't the right way of doing it. You know, but Nicolette taught me patience. She taught me how to love the right way, just from just this little baby.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing ever. I mean, as dads, you know that feeling, you know, but I never had patience for nothing. I was fire stick all the time, short fuse, ready to go.
Yeah.
Awesome. I had a conversation with one of my daughters, and she was talking about being my daughter. I'm like, look, kid, I'm learning how to be a dad as you're learning, as you're growing. Like, you're teaching me how to be a dad.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the Nicolette, she did the same for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty awesome, man. And was this like the driving force for you into a deeper walk, or what was this?
You know,
what was it the change? I don't know if
Yeah.
you're going there, but
No,
I'm
that's
curious. I'm
perfect.
gonna
Yeah.
get you there.
So you know, as a young man, my mom's uncle was a pastor, so we would go to his church, and it was real community. It was mostly family. I mean, there's probably 100 people maybe that went to the small church. He was a full time at the mill, and then he was a pastor full time when he got off work and Sundays. So pretty much the whole church was family. I mean, there was other people that weren't family, but it was like family reunion every Sunday, and that's where we got to eat. I mean, it was like potluck all the time. Time to grow up. And then so growing up, you know, there was different friends and neighborhood people that would always take us to church. We've been kicked out of every church, get kicked off of every bus, kicked out of every church camp, because we just didn't know how to behave. And so, but we still had some value that was given to us. And so we understood who God was, and we understood what sin was and what things were wrong. And I was just telling somebody today, I think at the age of 7 is when I started cussing all the time. 7 years old.
7.
I probably said 1,000 prayers to God to help me quit cussing, or I'm sorry for cussing. And 30 seconds later, I'm cussing again and saying the same prayer over and over. And, you know, so it was always having this belief in God.
Yeah.
And feeling like you had a relationship with God. But it wasn't until I was about 35 that I had an encounter with God that changed everything.
Tell us about that. What was that?
I mean, some of you guys are familiar with M24s. I had gone to a couple of them in the very beginning, the first ones, and I never stuck around, you know, because my kids had sports, so I would go for the evening deal, and then I'd bail out, and then one M24, I was able to stay for the whole thing, and there was a pastor. He said, write on a card what you believe is keeping you from having this intimate relationship with Jesus. So I wrote it on there. And then the next morning, we were up at the cross, and he said, if you believe that Jesus can change this for you, and you want this, I want you to drop that card in the guitar case. So prior to that, I can't tell you, less than 5 times in my life I can remember ever crying that wasn't like pain.
Yeah.
You know, just something that was emotional, or my feelings hurt or something. I just didn't really care much about any of that. And as soon as that card hit that guitar case, I fell to my knees and I could not get up.
Whew.
And I understood what that love felt like.
Yeah.
And I understood that I never felt that before, and I never really had that relationship with Jesus. And so from that time on, it seemed like before that, I never had any time to do anything. I was just constantly working. After that moment, it's like I got all my time back, and I had more stuff going on. I mean, I didn't even have restaurants at that point.
Wow.
Let alone, you know, we added another construction company to it, and all of a sudden I have all this time. And every once in a while, when things get crazy, and it's because I'm trying to do it on my own effort again.
Yeah.
And God said, hey, I'll take care of your burdens. You just give them to me and I'll handle it. So when it's stressful, give them to me. That way you can just keep moving. And so every once in a while that happens, and I got to go, you know what? I'm trying to take it back again. It's yours. You asked for it. Here it is, bud.
Mm.
Take care of it. And then it's like a restart every time.
Every time.
And everything's better again.
That's good. So M24, if you're watching this and you're wondering what is that, it is a men's retreat that is 24 hours, and it starts on Saturday at noon and ends on Sunday at noon. And it's done, the last couple have been done in Tehachapi, and the next one I believe is September 8th and 9th of next year. And it is a powerful event. I mean, I got to go to my first one this year, and there were some guys that I was happy were there because Wesley was there. But I mean, there was guys that were there that I had been praying for years, man, and they had that experience where God just found them on that mountain and wrecked them. And one of the guys, he got up and he goes, I'm turning into a big old pansy. I said, listen, it's just God, man. He's just like, when you feel that love like that, man, it wrecks you.
You cry about everything now, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you just be praying for your food, and you're like, and that's exactly what he told me. He's like, man, I can't even pray for my food right now.
I went to a movie premiere Saturday with a friend that got invited to go to it, and towards the end of the movie, man, I'm holding all the tears back. I'm like, this is a kids movie. What the heck's going on?
I love it, man. I love it. So the other thing is like you do a lot of service, like for men's events and women's events, and like maybe these people don't know that because they think somebody else like food just appears from heaven and they get to eat. But what do you do at M24 besides, get all those men there?
I've been doing the cooking since the third M24 that was ever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's wild. So just so you know, he's been cooking for that long. This last one, there's like 1,400 guys there. That's a lot of food. That is a lot of food.
There's a lot of hungry boys.
Yeah, and they're like full-grown men, like not little men.
But it takes an army to do it. I don't do it on my own.
Yeah.
There's a lot of men who show up and help, and they just want to. I mean, it's their way of giving back too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And there's men who don't even go to church that come and help now.
I love that.
Yeah, but they get the residual of it, and they want to keep coming back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that they just show up.
But is that the only thing that you do it for? Like, do you do other events around town that you cook for like that, or?
Yeah, I do. We do M6 and we do the refresh. I do stuff for Teen Challenge. It started out, the cooking was just for fun. It was just to help people out, I'm not a trained cook. I know what I like to eat, and I just cook what I like to eat.
Yeah, that was the biggest pork chop I ever had.
Oh my
was that at M6?
It was like
and then at Teen Challenge, I was like, oh yes, Collins was doing the food.
Yeah.
I think that's super valuable too, Collins, because I know people tell you all the time the food's awesome, but it creates a big opportunity for these people to be there too, because they know the food's not garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, you could order pizza and try to feed all the guys, but guys know what real food is, and pizza's not real food. So
No.
when you're cooking all that food, it's just like the guys feel like, especially like the pork chop. I don't know why I keep thinking, now it's because I'm hungry.
It is what it is. Yeah, it's getting to that time.
But it's just like the guys, you see them relax when they get that plate of food, they go sit down and they're like, it's like it helps take down the armor. And they get more open.
And they really don't know where it's coming from, right? They think, who's catering this thing? Who's doing this? I'm like, those guys over there.
That whole team.
Like, you see them?
Yeah, and we do a lot of ministry around that fire. There's a lot going on. This last M24, there was a son and a stepfather that were able to have conversation that they haven't had in a long time, and kind of help their relationship open back up again, which is pretty awesome. But there's always something going on, and it's not just the event. There's ministry going on around that fire.
Yeah, and it's kind of like your method of discipleship, because there's a lot of leaders in Bakersfield that try to lead men's ministry, but they have zero disciples. And they go out and do stuff, and you always see them by themselves. When you go out there and you have your cook team out there, I see your disciples. They're just like all around you. I'm like, yeah, that's discipleship right there. Serving, discipling, all at the same time. I mean, I love that part. What do you think made that shift to where God put that on your heart to do that ministry?
I just know what I received from it. And I wanted to create the same opportunity for anyone else who was needing it, because it changed everything in my life. At one time, my wife even wrote me a letter. I forgot my jacket or something. And so one of the guys stopped by my house and grabbed it, and she put a letter in there. And that letter was so powerful for me that when they do their journey groups, at the end of journey groups, they usually will have the wives write a letter to the men and talk about what the change was that they see in their life. And that started because of the letter my wife wrote.
Really?
Yeah.
So when did you meet her? Because, okay, her is Angie. Sorry, Angie. Don't get mad at me.
We were, I think, 16 or 17 years old. I can't remember. It was somewhere in there. Maybe junior in high school at some point.
Mess this up, Collins, bro.
Yeah.
Try to help you out.
A lot of that's a blur.
Okay.
There's a lot going on back then. But I know we ran into each other at a liquor store, and I was buying booze there or something, and I think her boyfriend was trying to get booze there, and then there was this like, who are you type connection, and so she sought after a friend of mine that we had in common, asked who I was, and I did the same, and then so we kind of dated off and on through high school, but we never really got serious in our relationship till I don't even think we were 21 yet. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we've been married 29 years.
29 years.
And so I think it was 34 years that we've been dating or being married. Yeah.
34 years of dating.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty cool. That's
It's
awesome.
not been easy yet, but we get through it.
She's seen you through it all.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, like, a lot of the heavy stuff she never really got to see or experience with me, but the anger, yeah, she knows all about that. Never towards her, but to other people, yeah. Her dad used to call me Killer.
That's awesome.
Just because of that reason. I was ready to go anytime. It didn't matter who it was.
Oh, man.
I love it, man. I love violence, so I love it.
When you grow up around it, it just becomes your natural thing, but her dad was my best friend.
Wow. Well, what's his name?
Paul.
Paul.
Yeah, and he passed away 5 years ago, I think it was.
Do you kind of feel like he's the one who helped teach you
Actually,
about
6 years ago.
6 years ago?
6 years ago. He's the one who taught me how to deep pit.
Yeah?
And so we used to deep pit thousands of turkeys for Thanksgiving it was called Love for Thanksgiving, but he's the one who initially showed me how to do it.
Wow.
Yeah. And we'd sit out there and deep pit and drink beer all night long. Is that deep pit done? Nope, not done yet.
Not yet. Oh, man. Yeah, that was a huge ministry.
And if you live in East Bakersfield, you know about wire rats.
Wire rats.
The rats that run on all the wires.
Oh, yeah.
Because of all the palm trees and everything.
Yep.
We would sit out and deep pit and shoot the rats off the wires.
Pellet gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like your old little video game.
Yeah.
So, like, in the ministry, there's this thing, and I know it was the first time, because, like, we have influencers at New Life Church, and it was not, like, an easy thing for me to transition into influencers. And I really do credit you in like how you said, "Hey, Adrian, come join my influencer group." And I was like, "It's a cult, bro. I'm not joining your cult. I'm not getting the tattoo." And I sat there. I remember the first three, like, I was like, "Don't talk, just listen. Don't talk." And you're like, "Adrian, you got to talk." And I was like, "I'm not talking. I'm just like, I'm watching." You're like, "No, you got to talk."
Yeah.
And I remember though, like watching you work with the guys and like getting them to open up to God. And it changed my perspective because really it's a lot of books. And I was like, how are we going to get these guys with these books? I mean, that's like 4 books and a manual and a journal. And I was like, there's no way this is going to work, but it worked. Like,
Yeah,
if you,
the books aren't the ministry. It just seems like it.
yeah,
You know, it's your relationships you build with the men. What becomes the ministry is introducing them to the Holy Spirit so they understand how the Holy Spirit works in their life, and they get to experience that through the group. You know, if we were just curriculum driven, we'd just be another Bible study that,
yeah,
you know, that misses the whole spirit aspect of it.
that's good. How long have you been doing the groups?
18 years. Yeah. Oh, it'll be 18 years this year. Yeah.
This is the
I was
18th.
in a group, the very first group in Bakersfield. Didn't say a word, didn't pray, didn't do any of that for the entire year. But I took it all in. I mean, it was challenging, you know. I did the work, you know, but I just didn't contribute much. And then at the end, so we're getting ready for signups again to go through it again. And Les says, "Hey, I need you to lead a group." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? I was in your group, dude. You know, I didn't say nothing. I didn't pray. I didn't participate. Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be perfect."
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was years before we had other men actually step up and start leading groups. It was the same guys every year. Now, I mean, it's crazy what
Oh,
God's
yeah.
done in that ministry over the last, 17 years, 18 years.
Yeah. And I think I was thinking back, like every time I've got this lunch scheduled tomorrow and this pastor wants me to talk to him about men's ministry. And I was thinking in my mind, like, before a men's ministry pastor even starts launching men's ministry, there's already a foundation person there.
Right.
There's already people in the back doing the work. And then a men's ministry pastor shows up and it looks like they're doing all the work, but the foundation was already built. Like at VBF, it's a perfect example. There's this guy named Charlie Garcia, and he built the foundation to the Mighty Men's ministry. Like, if he wouldn't have built that, they wouldn't have a Mighty Men's ministry now where a pastor just goes, "Hey, you're in that group, you're in that group." But he was foundational. And that is like, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking like, you built that foundation so that all that stuff could be possible there. Because people go like, "Oh, that group, the men's ministry grew so fast." And I go, well, there was a huge foundation there first.
Right.
And that makes it possible, you know?
You know, I think a lot of pastors are intimidated by it for whatever reason. But what we do is we're coming alongside you
Yeah.
as a ministry, and it doesn't cost you anything. You're not paying anybody to do anything. And we're training up men to lead. We're not training them to be sheep.
Yeah.
We're training them to be leaders, to be lions.
To be lions. I love that.
Yeah. So, and it changes the whole dynamic, because when you get the father, the husband, or the man following Jesus, you get everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Wherever the father is at, the family will follow.
Yeah.
If they're following Jesus, the family will follow. Hey, Bill, I see you putting some comments on there again. Thank you for all the comments. If you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them in there as well. Well, we got a couple more minutes. What do you think? Well, actually, a couple more seconds. What would you like to leave the audience? Like, you have this desire to see this radical transformation to happen in men. And if there's a guy out there, what would you tell them to start with?
Being their friend.
I like that. You know that. That's my favorite line.
Yeah.
Just like,
It's easier to have a conversation with a friend, right, than it is with a stranger. So you become their friend, and be intentional about it. And then Jesus just kind of starts oozing out of everything else.
yeah,
A lot of times when we come at him hard, throwing the Bible at him, it's just like, no, back up, dude.
yeah,
You know, and he could be a friend already,
yeah.
but it's just loving them where they're at, and treating them with respect,
That's
and
awesome.
not putting them down. You just encourage them. We're all gonna make mistakes. There's nobody perfect,
Yeah,
and you're gonna make mistakes again. We're all gonna make them. I make them every day.
yeah. That's good, Collins.
I love it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you next week. We'll have somebody else on. Have a blessed day.